Hello, everybody. Happy Friday, and welcome to another live edition of This is MLS. Remember, like the stream and also subscribe to the channel so you can participate in the chat, okay? We want to hear from you throughout this show, but you're going to hear a lot from these two guys. 2017 Gold Cup winner, Dax McCarty, and the man who landed a sit-down one-on-one with fellow Englishman Wilfried Zaha. Bradley Wright Phillips in the house. How are we doing this morning? I think it's safe to say, I know I'm doing better than Atlanta United is probably feeling this morning.
Thursday Night Football, Daxie.
I know, right? Taking after the NFL. I'm doing great, Jill. As you can see, down here in Florida, working on my tan. I think it's coming through very nicely. But Atlanta United, yet another disappointing performance. Honestly, Brad, I watched this game, and then I went back through and I watched the highlights just to be like, what happened? And I feel like Atlanta United got a little bit unlucky in this game, quite honestly. I thought Jamal Tiare should have had a penalty in the first half. Not sure how the referee doesn't give it. And this goes to maybe a deeper conversation about certain referees and their players, because I remember Hani Mukhtar back in 2021, 2022, he would get fouled quite often, but then referees would think he goes down a little bit too easily. Jamal Tiare, I wonder if he's kind of built up a little bit of a reputation because he does go down a little soft at times.
It should still be a pen.
I agree. There was contact. I just wonder if the ref doesn't think it's enough to give. And then what happens? Atlanta United, they fall asleep. Catastrophic mistake at the back from Brooks Lennon. They go down 1-0. You expect a reaction? No. Second half, completely fall apart in the first 15 minutes. 4-0. Thanks for coming.
Actually,
it's just hard to be positive about Atlanta right now, Brad.
Do you know what I learned? I learned yesterday that it don't matter what day Atlanta play on. They're not good this season. And that's just
you ain't wrong, bro. You ain't wrong.
This season. And yes, they started off well. The first half was entertaining. Moranchuk hits the bar. They create some chances. TRA looked dangerous. Should have had a penalty. Should have, would have, could have. They didn't. And guess what? Ronnie Dyler called them soft earlier in the season.
That still
second half
soft.
Performance, very, very soft. They
still
got beat up.
Man.
They got beat up, and New York City deserved it.
Yeah, and they got beat up against Ronnie Dyler's former team, New York City FC. 4-0. We were treated to a little MLS action on a Thursday night. That was the positive. But there's some Atlanta United fans in this chat right now, and they are agreeing that performance
Atlanta
last
United
night
fans, I'm just opening the chat now.
Was a negative. Here's what we have for you on today's show. A full slate of MLS action returns this weekend, plus the Gold Cup, plus the Club World Cup, all kicking off on Saturday. And Brad, like I mentioned, you are fresh off that trip down to Charlotte yesterday. What was your biggest takeaway from the personality that is Zaha?
It's amazing, first of all, Jill. This is my first solo interview. You know, I've never done anything like this before. It was nice to do it with a fellow Londoner.
It only took you 3 years.
Coming out my shell slowly, Daxie. But it was nice to sit down and talk to him. I wanted to speak to him. You know, one of the main questions I asked is if he's misunderstood. And what does he think about the body language sometimes that he shows? And, you know, it was a really good chat. I brought a little snippet with me. The rest will be out very soon. But we can watch a little bit here if you want, Jill.
Let's do it.
I mean, I'm respectful to everyone or whatever, but once we step on the pitch, I demand a certain level because we're trying to win things. Facts. So I'm not going to demand something from you that I'm not going to try to achieve myself and give every single game. Yeah. Do you get what I mean? No, if you expect that, if I come with this name or whatever, and you expect this from me, then just know that I'm going to expect that same, because we're both trying to reach the same goal, right? Yeah. We're all in the same shirts. Yeah. So expect that from me. And
Brad, I think for, the average fan that sits there and says, Zaha being the leader, the name that he is, this is the Premier League goal scoring leader for Crystal Palace. Coming here at 32 years old, I think they just expect more. But how much of that is a cultural difference?
It's all a cultural. This is what it is. Wolf obviously grew up playing in England. I think to make it in any first team in England, especially in the Premiership, you have to take hard lessons. You've been shouted at. You shout at people. It's a lonely journey, and you have to be tough. And I think that's what's got Wilf to where he is. And that's what he knows to be successful. And I think that's the demand he has on his teammates. I was the same. I can tell you now, Alex Mule, Sean Davis, Tyler Adams, these guys, I was shouting at them. But off the pitch, it's all love. I saw Charlotte training yesterday for a little bit. Everyone gets on with Wilf. He gets on with them. There's a genuine love there. But once you cross those white lines, we need to win the game. And I think that's just bred in us players from in England.
And Brad, I can see that, and I don't disagree with that sentiment because I think we live in a different time for soccer in general, not just in England or in the U.S., but everywhere, right? Yeah. There's been a shift about how coaches communicate with players. There's been more of a focus on mental health for players right now. Coaches being, I think, a little bit gentler in terms of how they get the most out of their players. This is kind of the shift that I've seen. But you're right. When it's ingrained in you from a young age that if a coach wants to get the most out of you, he yells at you. So you then in turn yell at someone else to try to get more out of them. I think there are moments where that can be a positive. But what I've seen from Zaha, it has been too demonstrative. I think we all know what his talent level is. He's proven that throughout his career. And personally, when I watch him play, I feel like he gets frustrated easier because I think he might have had a different expectation level of MLS. And maybe it was going to be a tiny bit easier than he has found it. And so that frustration creeps in, and follow that up with a poor run of form for Charlotte as of late. And I think you see his body language be a little bit below what we would expect of a leader. But I actually love that clip because I love the fact that he says, look, I want to hold myself accountable first, and I'm never going to hold my teammates to a standard that I don't hold myself to. So I like seeing that. That shows that Zaha is self-aware. It shows that he will hold himself accountable. I just think that if you're going to act like that, and if you are going to throw your arms up at your teammates and you're going to be very critical on the field, you also have to do the business on the field.
Yeah, you have to put
we know that he wasn't, you got to put the numbers up, Brad. Thierry Henry, he put the numbers up. You put the numbers up. And so you could do that, even if it was sometimes a little bit too much. Zaha has been better of late, but he also needs to realize that he is the catalyst and the attacking third for that team. And if he's not putting the numbers up, then it just looks a little whiny.
And he's not putting the numbers up yet. The numbers are 4 goals on the season, 3 MLS assists that have come as of late in his last 3 MLS games. Can Charlotte get to where they want to go if they don't get more from Zaha? And I want to point this out. Charlotte is in 9th place right now in the Eastern Conference. 2 months ago, I uttered the very words, top of the East, Charlotte FC. That was April 23rd. Since then, 6 losses, 2 wins in 8 games for Charlotte. And now they got to travel to top of the East, Philadelphia Union. So can Charlotte be that team again? They got to top of the East without Zaha being truly settled. Can they be a contending team if Zaha does not settle in the way that we hope he does?
The ceiling for me, for Charlotte, with the names you're mentioning, Pep Biel, Zaha, Abada, Patrick Aguilar, the ceiling for me is competing at the top of the East. What we haven't seen from Charlotte is consistency. Since they've come into the league, especially since Dean Smith's been there, I've looked at this team as very difficult to beat. They're solid. And I haven't seen that week in, week out from Charlotte. They were solid, and then they can catch you on a break with the dangerous players they have. They haven't put that together often enough. But I think if they do, you're looking at a team that can compete. Yes, we saw it earlier in the season.
Yeah, I don't see it, Brad. And I know that they had a great start to the season. I know Sasha Kljestan called them at one point the second best team in the East. I wonder if he would still have that same opinion now. But I think there were some issues that were kind of bubbling under the surface with this team, especially defensively. And if I look at Zaha, and I want to be critical, yeah, I don't think he started the season well, but he's actually been a little bit better as of late. He had 7 appearances in May, and he had 5 goal contributions. And so that's goals and assists. He has been a little bit livelier in attack. And if you go through their last couple of games, they've actually scored goals. 2 goals against Toronto, 2 goals in a 4-2 loss to the New York Red Bulls, 3 goals in a 3-2 win against Columbus. So the attack has been better. The attack has been livelier. Defensively, they've been a shell of what they were the last couple of seasons. And it starts with Christian Kalina, the 2024 goalkeeper of the year. I don't know if I've ever seen a goalkeeper lose confidence as quickly as I've seen Kalina lose confidence. And it's not all on him. But it's very strange, Brad. I've never really seen this happen to such a high-level, high-quality goalkeeper where all of a sudden you have one mistake and it just cascades into other mistakes. And this backline is suffering because of it.
It makes you question how strong he is mentally. And I don't want to say things I don't know, but normally keepers, they make mistakes and they have to be able to bounce back. It's like a striker missing an easy opportunity. You have to be able to forget that and bounce back, and they haven't. But you mentioned the defense. Malanda hasn't been himself. And Malanda was a big part of why they were good defensively. You also got to feel sorry for Dean Smith's men. Nathan Byrne, mainstay at right back, been injured. Dumbia, me and you specifically
injured.
spoke about him. He looked very good, injured. So I see the imbalance there in defense, why they're struggling a little bit. But I do have them on their day being one of the better teams in the East. I just see something in them.
Yeah, I don't agree, Brad. Jill,
one sec. Is the road form. Two wins away from, you can't be an elite team if you've got 2 wins away from home at this point in the season.
And that's the direction I was going to take it, is that similar to Atlanta United team, Atlanta United hasn't won a game on the road this year. Their home form has been iffy, and so I don't understand how Atlanta United is supposed to mount a comeback in the East. The same can be said about Charlotte, because they could bank on their home form, right? Bank of America Stadium was a fortress. It hasn't been the last couple of months. They've been very leaky there, and if you can't be consistently good and get results on the road, they're in 9th place right now, which actually surprised me. I thought they were a little higher up the table. Yeah. But I have to say, if they didn't have Pep Biel on this team, and Pep Biel absolutely orchestrating that attack, I don't know that Charlotte would even be in a playoff spot right now. Pep Biel's been that good. He definitely needs to be on the All-Star team. But if you can't have your goalkeeper of the year, 2024 goalkeeper of the year, consistently winning you games, the back line for me with Charlotte is not good enough right now. I think they're in a fight just to make the playoffs this year.
And well, Daxi, we're asking for some proof, and can they be consistent? They play Philly right there on the bottom of the screen. They play Philly away from home, where the home form hasn't been good. And Philly, for me, have been amazing this season. It's a team that hasn't lost in 9 games.
Yeah.
It's a team that, every player on that team works back. Every player on that team attacks as a unit. Bradley Carnell has done amazing this season. So this is a true test for them. Philly are one of those teams I'll give a good shot at the Shield, because we're in an international break right now, and it's maybe 3 or 4 players that are gone. During international breaks, they don't lose too many players, so their season doesn't get derailed too often. And those kind of things that our team, Red Bull, players did deserve to go for the national team, I thought, weren't really getting called up, but it helped us in the regular season. And we won Shields, I think, because of that.
100%, Brad. And if you look at their players that have gotten called in, Andre Blake, okay, we know he's a regular for Jamaica. But other than that, you look at a Nathan Harriel, who's gotten called into the U.S. men's national team right now. He's a player that's kind of on the bubble, right? He's a little bit of a bubble player. So he's good enough to be considered for the national team, which shows that you are, I think, in an elite position in MLS, but you're not quite good enough to break into the first team. So Philly's not consistently losing him window after window. And that is why they can be so good. And to your point about them challenging for the Shield, they don't lose their best players consistently to national team call-ups. Every now and then they do. But even if they lose a Baribo or a Harriel, they have players that step in, or a Donley Jean-Jacques. They have Jesus Bueno on the bench to come in for Jean-Jacques, right? Jovan Lukic has been great this year. You have an Alejandro Bedoya who's obviously on the latter stages of his career, but you can plug and play him. Nathan Harriel gets called into the national team, not even really being a full-time starter on this Philadelphia Union backline because of Frankie Westfield. So Philly
it's a very durable squad.
It is. Durable. And Philly's been a joy to watch. Bradley Carnell is absolutely coaching this team up to their maximum potential right now. I don't see why they can't make a Shield run.
So be good, but don't be too good.
Be good, but don't be excellent.
Yeah, you mentioned Andre Blake and Nathan Harriel, also Jean-Jacques, of course, with Haiti, and Quinn Sullivan, the 4th player for the Philadelphia Union, gone with the U.S. for Gold Cup duty. Charlotte will be missing 2 players in defender Tim Ream and striker Patrick Ajiman. All right, I want to talk about the Gold Cup, because it begins Saturday night, SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. Mexico taking on the Dominican Republic will be the game to kick it all off. But the U.S.'s quest to make some moves in this Gold Cup will be Sunday against Trinidad and Tobago in a group that includes Saudi Arabia and Haiti. We're going to get into all that, but I know what everybody's thinking about is Christian Pulisic finally breaking his silence after his camp gave some information to U.S. Soccer, and then we learned about that Christian Pulisic would not be joining the Gold Cup through a statement from U.S. Soccer. The cliff notes of this interview that was done on CBS Galazzo's Call It What You Want was he doesn't regret the decision. Anyone who calls into question his commitment is way out of line. And Pulisic did disclose, Dax, that he offered to his manager, Mauricio Pochettino, that he would play in the 2 friendlies ahead of the Gold Cup, Potch said thanks, but no thanks. Pulisic assured everybody, you guys will see I'm hungrier than ever.
Jill, I'm sorry. I can hear Dax's blood boiling. I can hear it.
He's getting redder. He's getting redder.
Guys, I don't understand why this interview had to happen. Christian, first of all, I love Christian. I played with Christian when he was really young in our 2017 run through World Cup qualifying. He was 17 at the time, 17, 18 years old at the time. You could tell how big of a talent he was. You could tell how great of a player he was going to be. I like Christian. I absolutely think it means a lot to him to represent the U.S. men's national team. But right now, this summer, the frustrating thing for me is the only thing we keep talking about is stuff that's happening off the field. And when we should be analyzing what's happening on the field, which is not good enough too. Christian, I just don't understand the need to do an interview like this because you contradict yourself so many different times. You say that you don't feel the need to defend yourself to anyone, but you go and then you do defend yourself and you give your reasons for why you didn't go in. You say your body wasn't feeling right at the end of the season, but then you wanted to play in the 2 friendlies, but not the Gold Cup because you wanted to have some time off. And then, you talk about how much you love being around the team and how much you want to be around the team. When you had the opportunity to go and be around the team, you decided to take a vacation. So I'm trying to stay calm here because I want to put myself in Christian's shoes. I do, but I can't because I was never as good of a player as Christian. I never played at the level that he's played at. I never played as many games in a season that he has played. But you know what, Brad? The one thing that I did do was I did get a chance to represent my national team. And every time I got called in, I felt like I had no choice but to go. Because if I didn't go and I didn't prove myself every training session, every game, I wasn't going to get called in again. Christian has the luxury to be able to say, you know what? I don't want to represent my national team right now because I want to look towards the future and I want to be fit for the season. And then in turn, that will make me fit for the World Cup. Well, I can't relate to that. And I can't understand why you would do that. And so that's what's frustrating to me is that if you take this in context, okay, the U.S. men's national team has never been in a lower place since they were after we failed to qualify. The U.S. men's national team is rudderless. They're looking for leadership. They're looking for direction. And Christian Pulisic is our best player. And I want our best player to help us come out of this rut we're in. And you know what, Brad? None of this is going to matter a year from now if Christian balls out the world.
Exactly.
I agree.
But listen,
right now, it feels bad, and fans have every right to be frustrated by it.
Okay, but this conversation is boring me. And you said you're not sure why he's doing this interview. I know why. Because he's tuning in online and he's just seeing people talk about things they have no facts about. That's it. I'm with you. I wasn't good enough to play for England. I played at lower levels for the youth teams, whatever. Yep. I'm going every time. I'm not Christian Pulisic. I don't know where he is mentally. I don't know where he is physically. So he has to sit back, listen to everybody talking when there could be some real issues. Maybe he thinks if I go to the national team, I'm doing them no favors. Maybe that's the reason. Do you know what I'm saying? I just don't think we need to keep talking about this. And guess what? While Pulisic isn't there, while Tim Weah isn't there, Weston McKennie, we're getting to see other players. Now we get to talk about Diego Luna, Brian White, Patrick Eichmann, Quinn Sullivan. We get to talk about all these players. So
Brad,
I get where you're coming from. I'm just fed up of talking about it.
I understand, and I agree. It is nauseating. I don't want to talk about it either. But right now, as a national team that is hosting the World Cup, we don't have to go through World Cup qualifying. So you tell me what important games that these guys have a chance to play in coming up. And for people that say the Gold Cup isn't important, there have been times where I agree the Gold Cup hasn't been as important. But right now, when we don't have any World Cup qualifying, we don't have any big games to play in. These players aren't going to play in any big games leading into the World Cup. And by the way, their form has been abysmal. Even when the best players have been around, we haven't done well in the Nations League. I thought this was an opportunity to just, Brad, I agree. You don't know what a player's going through, but Christian confirmed that while his body was feeling worn down at the end of the season, he wasn't injured. He was not injured. So I hope that he gets a break. I hope he gets a rest. I hope we can stop talking about this because at the end of the day, if he balls out in the World Cup, no one's going to care. Yeah. I won't care. And I'll say, you know what, Christian, I apologize because you did what you needed to do and you led us to a great run in the World Cup. I hope that he proves me wrong.
Okay.
I think we'd love to be talking about what the U.S. men's national team is doing on the field, right? But that's not such a pretty picture either. And I think, too, Brad, to your point, I'm tired of talking about the drama of the national team. I thought we were putting that all behind us. And, you know, even though I don't agree with when they parted ways with Greg Berhalter, that, okay, we're getting rid of all that drama that was kind of brought upon him. But on the flip side, this is all highlighted by the fact that these the Gold Cup and everything are run-ups to a World Cup. And that's where I think a lot of the disappointment, obviously,
100%.
is in Christian. You said it, Dax. You said that he's saying he's healthy. Taylor Twellman said on the podcast you guys were on It's Called Soccer, that perhaps Pulisic is, dealing with a hip injury or something like that. So then is it your response? This is a question I was thinking about this morning. Is it your responsibility as a player to then disclose your injury?
I think that your personal health is completely up to you and how you want to disclose that or not disclose that. I just think that at this moment in time, when the U.S. men's national team has never been in a lower spot, when you need to rely and see your best players trying to play and get this team back on the right track, that, a little bit of transparency goes a long way. If Christian came out right before they announced the roster for the summer and said, listen, I physically could not handle a big load in the summer, then I don't think we really talk all that much about this. But because U.S. Soccer were the ones to put out a statement, Christian, we didn't hear anything from Christian. For me,
he should have put something out.
He should have said something. It's just a communication issue. But now we have all this different stuff coming out and everyone has their opinion. I just want to see our national team be successful at the 2026 World Cup. I know how I would want to see us prepare for that. I would love to see all of our best players get as many reps as possible together before that tournament. But since that's very obviously not going to happen, I hope that they prove everyone wrong. I hope that they have a good buildup with good friendlies. I hope Pochettino is better. But Brad, I want to ask you, our boy, Tyler Adams, just came off a great season in the Premier League. He was there for 2 friendlies. He's going to be for the Gold Cup. So again,
Tyler missed a lot of football during the season. He had some injuries, so I can imagine Tyler feels like he needs to play some games. But to your point, I don't want to just say, just to argue with you. To your point, I think Tyler's going every time. But I know that kid. I know who he is.
100%.
I don't know Christian like that, but Tyler will be there every time.
Sure. And so I want our team to be successful. Obviously, I don't want to talk about the stuff that's happening off the field anymore. Let's talk about the stuff that's happening on the field because Jill, I know you were going to tee this one up, but wow, Brad, I was at the game in Nashville against Switzerland. It was brutal, buddy. And this is where you're like, hey, we need to figure out what our depth is. How are we going to test out our depth? I have real concerns about our depth heading into the 2026 World Cup. And this Gold Cup is massively important for Pochettino to figure out the guys he can rely on.
It's a shame because it's the last picture you get, before the World Cup. This is the tournament that's meant to give the fans hope. They're meant to see what they'll be supporting next year in 2026 and, give them a reason to believe. So, a little bit disappointing.
So the U.S. has now lost 4 straight across all competitions for the first time since 2007. And that run actually got a little bit worse. It went to 5. The send-off, you mentioned one of them, Dax, the 4-0 loss to Switzerland, and then the 2-1 loss also to Turkey. With that in mind and what you've seen, what does success look like for the U.S. men's national team at this 2025 Gold Cup?
Are we really asking this?
Yes.
The U.S. should be in the final or winning this thing. In terms of CONCACAF, this is the biggest nation. I don't want to hear anything about the squad being a different squad, the young players getting a chance. We over here, we've got the best.
Brad, have you seen what they have done recently?
Brad, I just teed up.
I don't care about recently. I don't care about recently. You are the USA. You are playing in the Gold Cup. You should be going there only to win. Only to win. This is not the World Cup. Don't tell me, if we get through the group stages, I think that's a positive. No, you have to win or get to the final.
Brad, I feel like Will Smith took his little Men in Black memory eraser and just zapped you for a year. We have to take into account what this national team has shown us the last 18 months. The last 12, 18 months. They have not been good. They have lost to Canada. They have lost to Panama in important games. It's not good enough from the U.S. men's national team. I think we need to recalibrate what success looks like for this team because 18 months ago, Brad, I'm being realistic. I apologize if I don't think.
Dax, for you?
Put in the chat
What
where
round
they
are we
should finish.
talking?
Success for the U.S. men's national team at the Gold Cup looks like Mauricio Pochettino being able to find 3 or 4 players that he can rely on as depth, that show up, that play well, all right, that lead this team clearly out of the group stage. But I think if the U.S. makes it to a semifinal or a final, and the U.S. can beat one of Canada, Mexico, and yes, I'm even going to throw Panama in there because Panama has had our number the last couple of months in biggest games, then yeah, I would say that's successful. But is it fair for me to expect a youngish U.S. men's national team where they're not that young in age, but they are young and inexperienced, right? Brian White is just finally getting his first taste of international soccer. Max Arfston is young by MLS standards, but he's 24 years old. He's not young by national team standards. And so these guys aren't young, but if they make a final and they lose to a better Canada team, let's call a spade a spade. Canada's better than us right now. They have most of their best players. Mexico, they're not great, but they're probably better than us right now, and they have most of their best players with them. So if we beat one of those teams, make it to a final and lose, I'm going to be upset. But I don't expect the U.S. to be favorites in this Gold Cup. But if they win it, great. That's a cherry on top. Just show some positive signs.
The nation's too big. They got to be in there for favorites. They have to be. I'm sorry. If this is the level, then what are we doing for next year? Because
this is the point of the conversation. I think we need to readjust our expectations for this Gold Cup and for next year based on their form. If they go into the World Cup flying, if they win the Gold Cup and all our best players are fit and healthy and they win every friendly in the lead up to the World Cup, Brad, I will readjust and recalibrate my expectations. But right now, expectations for this team should be lowered. It's facts.
No more. Your country. Say no more.
Dax, I had a little bit of a internet stall, but did you give a round that would make you happy for the U.S. to get into?
They have to make the semifinal, 100%.
Okay.
And I would like to see them. I would like to see them beat a Panama, a Mexico, a Canada, teams who have just been better than us lately. I mean, we have to call a spade a spade.
Okay. Some of the people in the chat, which remember, if you like the channel, you can hop into the chat. So be sure to like and subscribe everything we've got going on here. You've got This is MLS coming to you every Wednesday and Friday. But a lot of people in the chat saying that the favorite is Canada. You agree with that?
From what they've shown of late, Jesse
brought their best team.
Some wonderful things. Yeah.
They brought their best team. They have and Jesse Marsh, by the way. Shout out to Jesse Marsh with the subtle shade thrown at the U.S. men's national team. I mean, Jesse, he cannot resist taking shots at the U.S. men's national team. I think it's hilarious. Maybe he was asked about it, maybe he wasn't. But he made, Brad, did you see his quote? He made a point to say, none of my guys asked to take any time off. I mean, those are fighting words, Jesse. I mean,
he's stirring the pot. He knows what he's doing.
He's stirring the pot. He knows what he's doing. But I think Canada should be the favorite considering the roster they have, considering their performance in Copa America, which was very good. I think Canada, Mexico are probably just a shade above the U.S. men's national team in Panama right now in terms of who should be thought of as the favorites in this tournament.
I have to ask this because you two know Jesse Marsh better than most. If Jesse Marsh was the manager of the U.S. men's national team, would Christian Pulisic be allowed to take the Gold Cup off?
That's a tricky question. I don't know how it works with international. I don't know if Pochettino has, that much of a say. I think if a player is saying that he's not, willing to calm or something's going on, he can't.
Jill, this is again part of the bigger argument in a better national team pool with more depth and more high level players. I think Christian Pulisic would feel more pressure to come into camp and prove himself over and over again. But listen, here's a fact, and I'm sorry if people don't want to hear this. Christian Pulisic, Weston McKennie, Tim Weah, there is no one even close to what they bring to the national team in terms of talent, in terms of profile, in terms of big game experience. And so Christian Pulisic and all these guys, they're going to be called in. It wouldn't matter whoever the manager was, unless the manager explicitly told them, if you don't come into the Gold Cup, I'm not calling you in ever again, which would be ridiculous. But yeah, you're Mauricio Pochettino, you're Jesse Marsh, you're at the mercy of your best players. And that's the sad reality and sad state of where the national team is right now, is that there's no one pushing those guys to knock them out. So that's why I think a little bit of complacency has set in, a little bit of entitlement has set in, and that's why we get what we get. That's why we're having these discussions about the state of the national team.
One thing you two have agreed on, I will say, in pretty much every show is that
Not
the
a
player...
lot.
No, but there's one thing, and it's the fact that everybody can't wait to see what Diego Luna puts on in terms of a show at the Gold Cup. And there's really good news. MLS has a brand new series called Off the Ball. It's a series that highlights top players from around the league, their passions, their interests, everything that they're discovering in life off the pitch. And our very first player profiled is our very own Diego Luna. Let's take a very quick sneak peek.
Breaking the nose story went crazy.
Yeah.
What was your reaction when you saw a bunch of comments? Yeah, it was right after surgery, so I was like a little out of it, and I saw this stuff and I thought it was like a joke, because I woke up from surgery and like my family was there, and my agents, they were like calling me big balls and all this stuff, and dude, it was hilarious. I thought like my robe was like showing or something, because I was just in the bed like chilling, and I was like, what? And I was like panicking. It was funny at first, but then to think about it, it was just kind of crazy to make such a big comment about, you know, a player like me, like any player, just making a comment about them. But just to show, you know, the meaning behind it, right? To show that he meant that, you know, I was determined and to play for my country, you know, fighting through things and stuff like that, was super cool. And I think, you know, it might have been the best decision of my life to continue to play with a broken nose, right? Because it is showing people a side of me and has opened doors, so that's pretty sick.
You can check out the full episode of Off the Ball on YouTube. Damn, MLS, that was spicier than I thought.
How can you not like Diego Luna?
Diego, mm-hmm.
How can
Very
you not
likable
like him?
player. Yeah.
He's one of those guys. He's just a mystery to me. I look at him. He just looks funny in the kit, tattoos all over the place. Doesn't look like he should be good at football. And there he is, just an excellent player. But a show like this where you get to see him behind the curtain, you know, his personality, you know, what he gets up to day to day is fascinating for me. Because I wonder that often when I'm watching him play, like, what's this guy like?
Isn't it funny that we look at that clip and we listen to the words Diego Luna uses to describe that moment? And for all the amazing things he's done on the field, Brad, in MLS, and not so much for the national team right now. I think he's just starting to kind of get his feet wet with the national team. But for all the amazing things he's done on the field, it's a moment that has like nothing to do with actual playing of soccer that might be the catalyst for like the most important moment of his career. He talks about that. He literally says, the decision to keep playing through my broken nose could potentially have been the biggest moment of my career so far. I mean, I find that fascinating. That he's a throwback. Brad, I don't know if you remember this, but way back in one of the World Cups, and I'm blanking, it's either 02 or 06, but Brian McBride got elbowed in the face in a World Cup game, and he was just gushing blood out of his face. And he looked like a hero, you know? I always thought, like, man, if I ever get, like, elbowed in the face and I've got the blood running down my face, I want to be, like, photographed. Like, yeah. Like, I feel like that's, like, the American mindset mentality. I'm going to play through anything. And, of course, we want to be better technically, tactically. We want to compete with the best teams in the world in those ways. But get back to, like, that Americanness that, like, made us so competitive.
I wouldn't say that's American. I'd say that's English. That's English. That's how we are.
No shot.
Tough. That's how we are. We're tough. But Dax, you couldn't be more spot on. You couldn't be more spot on.
You know what I'm saying, Brad?
Players always look to impress with skills, goals, assists. But you know what coaches really want? They want to know if they can trust a player and if you would run through a brick wall for me. And Diego Luna, in that moment, showed him that I can be trusted. If you put me out here, 100%. I'm not coming off the pitch unless you drag me off. So 100%. I think it's done him, you know, all the favors in the world. But this Gold Cup is massive for Diego Luna, right?
I would love to
really
see
put him in that roster.
Go ahead,
it's incredible what like a little likability does right now, where maybe U.S. fans really need that person, where the product on the field we haven't seen yet from the national team level with Diego Luna, but a little relatability, a little likability really goes a long way. And Dax, you're spot on. It was 2006 with Brian McBride. He stayed in the game. A 1-1 eventual draw to the eventual champions, Italy. And it's moments like that. And I think if Diego Luna could go down as a name like a Brian McBride type, he would be quite happy.
And he has to. This team needs a spark. They need someone to be a catalyst to lead them. And look, Brad has dubbed Real Salt Lake Real Diego Luna. And it's for good reason. Yes. It's for good reason. He's been everything that Salt Lake has needed and more, even though they're struggling mightily this year. Luna, if he carries over that form of Salt Lake into the national team and he balls out at this Gold Cup, he is going to solidify his position on this U.S. men's national team as a piece that's going to challenge those better players, those starters, those more experienced guys that are playing in Europe.
Yeah.
So MLS full slate resumes this weekend. Gold Cup, we're missing one thing. A little thing called the Club World Cup, also beginning this weekend. We're going to dive into the 3 MLS teams that are partaking. But LAFC doing a little something in the final hour to bolster that attack, signing Javier Del Rosen for a quick little stint He's coming on loan from Club America for 6 weeks. It's through July 24th with a purchase option. The 26-year-old Dutchman will be available for the Club World Cup. And this move was completed during that special transfer window that FIFA had from June 1st to the 10th. How much does this move the needle for LAFC come Club World Cup?
It's hard to say because we don't know what DeRozan will be. I've done a little bit of work on him last year for the Leagues Cup. You know, we had a game, I think Club America playing. I forget who they were playing against, but I wanted to know about their dangerous players. And I'd watched a bunch of his clips, Jill, and he was, on his day, he's frightening. It hasn't quite worked out for him in Mexico. I don't think he's been, lights out. But I like this as an option for LAFC. I think it's another player that can, on his day, take players on, score goals, be a nuisance to defenses in the Club World Cup. So why not? Why not?
Can he score goals, Brad?
He's got a goal in him, Dax. So at Feyenoord, he scored a few goals. He's got a lot of talent. Sometimes, Daxy, when it don't work out. I'm one of those players. It didn't work out maybe in Feyenoord, Club America. You come to somewhere, the coach is good, you gel with the team, all of a sudden you're flying. Maybe that's what they're hoping for with this signing.
Move the needle for you, Dax?
I was just going to say, Jill, it doesn't move the needle for me in a way where he's going to be a significant difference maker to lead LAFC to greater heights. I think he's a nice player. I agree with Brad. He's dangerous. I think he's got great pace. He can take players on 1v1. I just look at his final product. And at Club America, he's played some 50-odd games. He scored 3 goals. So I don't see the final product there. I think this is more of a replacement for the depth that Cengiz Under brought this team. And so for Steve Cherundolo, he fits into, I think, what is going to make LAFC the most successful at this Club World Cup. That's sitting deep, that's not having as much possession, making sure that with Denny Bouanga and Nathan Ordaz, you use speed in transition to try to get at teams that are maybe a little bit more vulnerable. He absolutely can be an asset in transition. I just don't think it moves the needle that much for LAFC. And it's actually a little surprising that it was the only signing made by any of the MLS teams during the window.
Yeah, you and Maisel, the drummer, agreeing. And I wanted to ask you about that, about how surprised you have this special window before the summer transfer window, him saying an underwhelming special transfer window. You kind of get this gift from FIFA.
You are right, my friend. You are right.
Yeah. Let's talk a little.
With the opportunity, sorry, Jill, they were talking about Ronaldo, all these players, and we get to roast them.
Yeah, we were talking about Ronaldo last week, he was so intent on playing in the Club World Cup. Gianni Infantino even saying that at one point over this last calendar year. And that special window has come and gone. So LAFC, when the Club World Cup kicks off, they will be taking on Premier League side Chelsea Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. That game is on Monday. On Sunday, you've got the Seattle Sounders playing Botafogo of Brazil, their home at Lumen Field. The game that kicks off the Club World Cup, Inter Miami, in Miami, taking on Al Ahly of Egypt's top flight at Hard Rock Stadium. So, Dax, you've said it. We know that success for all 3 of these MLS clubs would be basically getting out of their groups. And I want to take a zoom in, perhaps, on what that exactly looks like for every team. So who do we want to start with? We want to start with LAFC, Miami, or the Sounders?
I'm good at Jill. How about this? How about I just go ahead and give you the framework for these teams? That's going to say, okay, you want to be successful. Listen to old man Dax. Okay,
wow.
Build me the path.
Wait to hear.
Build me the path,
listen
Dax.
to what you're going to have to do with Inter Miami and with Seattle Sounders. The recipe is the same. This is mandatory. You have to win your first game. You have to. Okay? You have to win your first game because if you break down the groups and the schedule, Inter Miami and Al Ahly probably on the bottom tier of that group in terms of overall talent. So whoever takes 3 points in that game, that's a massive start to the season. Seattle Sounders, do you think you're taking points off of either PSG or Atletico Madrid? Probably not. So you need to get 3 points against Botafogo, who is also an excellent team, by the way. But it's a good thing that you start the tournament against Botafogo because that's the most realistic game you can take points in. So for Inter Miami and Seattle, win your first group game. Give yourself a chance going into the last 2 games to get a point, okay? Because that's the recipe for success. As far as LAFC goes, I'd argue that you should not be You should try to win the game, of course, but Chelsea is a better team. They're a deeper team, just qualified for the Champions League. Make sure the goal difference isn't catastrophic. All right, Brad? Make sure if it's 2-1, if you're losing 2-1, Steve Cherundolo, make sure you still have balance. Try to go and get a draw, but make sure you don't concede another one on the other end because you don't know how important goal difference is going to be. You play the weaker teams in your group towards the end of the group stage. So just make sure against Chelsea it doesn't get too crazy. Even if you sneak a point against Chelsea, great. If you follow that framework and you give yourself a chance at the end of the group stage, Jill, I said success for all these MLS teams would be give yourself a chance to advance in the last group game because that way anything can happen. We know in a one-off game where you have a chance to advance, anything can happen. I would love to hear if any disagreement from Bradley Wright Phillips. I doubt I'm going to get any.
You know
because
what,
that was
Dax?
a perfect argument.
I mean, he can argue with himself and agree with himself. No,
That's
I think
facts.
you
That's
said it
facts.
very well. I'll just make it shorter. Listen, Inter Miami got the best chance, right? They got the best chance. They fell into a group that they can do something. I see them maybe getting 4 points. I think they win tomorrow, maybe get a tie against Palmeiras. That's it. I think for Seattle Sounders, I think the positives will be performances, individual performances. So I look at someone like Obed Vargas. I think you're going to be playing against teams where you're not going to have the ball much. He can cover ground. He can do everything in the game to where he might be able to stand out, defensively. And then LAFC, they're used to sitting back. You're hoping to get something on the counter attack. It's going to be very tough for those two sides. But if we're being real, I think Inter Miami have the best chance with the talent they have and the group they're in.
Okay, Brad, so do they get out of the group?
I'm going to say yeah. I am going to say yeah. I think they got enough experience in there. Messi can get, magic. He can score a free kick. He can pull magic out of the hat. You've got Suarez. There's players that can do something against those teams.
I say
Brad's
that.
Mr. Positive today. Christian Pulisic's going
he
to
is.
ball out at the World Cup. The U.S. is going to win the Gold Cup next month, and Miami's going to get out of their group in the Club World Cup.
Some people call me
Bradley.
call me Mr. Pessimistic. I just call myself a realist. Sorry, Brad's not being realistic.
Who knew
don't see Inter Miami
Wilfred
getting out?
Zaha was going to make you come back like such a ray of sunshine?
Because you know what it is? I haven't had much sleep. My thoughts are all over the place. I won't agree with any of this tomorrow.
Jumbled.
Did he give you any? So did you actually, Brad, it's a sad day if there's a chance that I ask you if you're giving anybody social media advice. Did you give Zaha any social media advice? I really meant to ask you that.
No, I didn't. I asked him how he deals with these things, and he says every now and again, which we know, he said he goes on to his Snapchat, he will vent on there, and then once he's put something out,
We know.
he'll just leave it. Throw it away. Yeah. So every now and again, he'll just vent on the Snapchat. So I think that's how he deals with it.
Yes, we saw that. Dax, question for you. You put the prayers up. Phil Neville was super shady last week and talking about Seattle and their group of death with Botafogo, Atletico Madrid, and Paris Saint-Germain, the Champions League winners as of May 31st. How do you approach a group of death? Have you ever played in a group of death?
Absolutely not of that level. No, not even close. I would say to Brian Schmetzer and the Seattle Sounders, they have a good mentality. They've played in a Club World Cup before. And Brian Schmetzer actually talked a little bit this week about how they learned some lessons and how he would have done things a little bit differently. And so I think that Seattle will be ready to play. I hope that Yeimar is healthy because they've had a little bit of an injury crisis on that back line. And if you have Yeimar and Jackson Reagan healthy, I think you give yourself a much better chance to stay compact and solid at the back. Win your first game. If there's a chance you might be able to take a point off of Atletico Madrid, who maybe if you sit a little bit deeper and you make them try to break you down, because they are usually the team, especially in Spain and in Europe, that sits deeper and hits you in transition. I think that you might give yourself a chance. And then if not, hope that PSG wins their first two games and then rotates all of their starters out. And then who knows? They're still going to have extremely high quality players and high quality depth, but maybe, just maybe, you give yourself a chance to get something out of the PSG game.
Actually, why there's going to be a huge gap in quality, let's be real. I think if I'm Brian Schmetzer, I'm running with the fact that these teams have had long, grueling seasons.
They have.
And MLS right now are halfway through. So how can we use that to our advantage? I know it's not going to be easy, but you've got to try and use that to your advantage. Put them in fast games, defend like your life depends on it, and try and get things from set pieces. Make these games tough to where they don't want to be in long games. They don't want to be in games where they have to do too much because the season's been so hard. PSG just won the Champions League. It felt like only, how long ago was that? 2 weeks ago?
Yeah. couple
Now
weeks
they're
ago.
in another big competition. This isn't easy. I know they're top athletes, but it isn't easy to go and go and go again. We see that with Galaxy this year, So
Yeah, you're right.
I think they got to ride the wave of being fresher.
I think I have Brad's with. I wanted to ask you guys what your biggest Club World Cup headline in the newspapers would be 2 weeks from now, which is like roughly when the group stage would end. So I think I have Brad's like Messi balls out, Inter Miami, gets out of the group. Dax, what's your biggest Club World Cup headline?
LAFC advances the farthest of any MLS team, and Denny Bouanga plays so well. One of the big clubs comes in for him, wants to buy him for a lot of money because he's tremendous, fantastic player at the peak of his powers right now, probably on his day, other than Messi, the most dangerous player in MLS. I think this tournament sets up really nicely for him to shine. Unfortunately for LAFC, they won't be playing any games at home in the group stage. They're going to be on the East Coast a lot. So that's why I think that this sets up nicer for them, is they're not going to feel the pressure at home to carry the game to any of these opponents they're going to play. When they sit back a little bit deeper and hit teams in transition using Denny Bouanga's quality and pace, that's when they're at their absolute best, and that's going to give them a chance to advance deep in this tournament.
Brad, did I summarize your headline correctly? I didn't want to.
It was all right. I didn't say Messi going to ball out. I just think he obviously has the magic. I think he has the magic. I think their group suits that. I think they got the best chance with the group they're in. It's a weaker group than the other two teams, we're putting into the tournament. So I just give them a better chance.
All right, before we move on to some MLS action, who scores more goals, Bouanga or Messi?
Messi.
I'll go Bouanga. I'll go Bouanga scores slightly more goals than Messi in this tournament.
Nah, Messi.
All right. How about you make me a coffee then? This is a coffee.
No problem. I won't be making it, but yeah, you make me a coffee.
You're gonna make it.
You're gonna make me a coffee, and I want 2 sugars with my cream.
Wow, high stakes between you two.
This is high stakes for Brad.
Yeah. Getting up and going to get a coffee when you don't want to, that's high stakes.
Okay. All right. What about this? The Supporter Shield leaders, the Vancouver Whitecaps this weekend, traveled to 6th in the East, former side of yours, Brad, the Columbus Crew. It'll be, I'd say, MVP. They're not coaches. Coach of the Year candidate battle between potentially Wilfried Nancy and Jesper Sorensen. Where do these guys rank in your top 5 coaches in MLS right now?
Well, I have a little list, Brad.
You got a list?
I made myself a little list. So
okay, what we'll do, we'll just dissect his list.
Okay. I have Jesper Sorensen as the runaway favorite for Coach of the Year right now in MLS. I don't even think it's close for this season, considering the things that he has done. First of all, in the league, balancing CONCACAF Champions Cup, getting all the way to the final, as well as balancing league play, getting at the top of the Supporter Shield standings with all the injuries and absences that he's had. That performance they had against Seattle Sounders, where they were missing like half their roster, just solidified how good of a coach Sorensen is for me. Wilfried Nancy, I still think is the best coach overall in MLS right now in terms of everything that I've seen him be able to accomplish.
I don't know if he's top 3 this season.
Right now, though, if we're doing a power rankings, Wilfried Nancy is slowly slipping down the list because Columbus is not in good form right now. I would say this is actually the toughest stretch Wilfried Nancy has gone through since he got to Columbus. So he's just on that top 5. He's number 5 for me right now. I have Mikey Veras at number 4. Everything that he has done in San Diego has been so impressive. I have BJ Callahan at number 3, and everything he's done in Nashville has been so impressive. He deserves respect. We need to talk about Nashville and BJ Callahan a little bit more. Brad and Sash and all the MLS 360 crew, Jill, would accuse me of being a homer, but now I think they're finally starting to see the light. And in at number 2 is Bradley Carnell and everything that he has done with the Philadelphia Union, with Sorensen on top.
Yep, I have Sorensen, Carnell, I have Vargas, I have
Veras.
Vargas.
Vargas is his brother.
That's the player that plays for Charlotte.
Yeah.
Yeah, Carnell's in there. I think Carnell's been brilliant.
So I have the perfect list, is what you're saying.
It's not, yeah. I don't know. At the end of the season, we'll see, right? But I just don't
right now.
I don't want to agree with you. Shut up. Next subject, Jill. Take us somewhere else.
I like the way we end that. Shut up. Next subject.
I like that to this. I'm devastated.
I want to reserve a little bit of time to get to everybody in the comments because we've had some really good questions. But before we move on, just give me a score line. Who wins on Saturday?
Oh. Wilfred Nancy has fixed things in Columbus. He's had a little bit of time to work on that high back line, getting more pressure on the ball. Columbus wins the game. Columbus wins the game. Why does Vancouver win?
I just think they're better right now. And Columbus they're not too dangerous in the attack. I'm not seeing anything that, I think this is going to be a tactical game where they're both fighting for possession. But at the top of the field, I feel like Vancouver are more dangerous, and that's where it counts.
All right, great. Another coffee for me. Let's put it. Put your money where your mouth is.
Why are Columbus
I'm
winning?
actually missing my coffee this morning. I could have really used one. Who's going to bring me a coffee?
Brad, I just said
Wilfred
Nancy had time to fix their issues, their back line, high back line, pressure on the ball. They're going to be much better. They're at home. They're going to win.
Say no more.
All right. Let's open it up to the good people that pay attention to whatever we're putting out on the waves today. I really like this one from Mustafa. I think on our earlier Atlanta United tirade. Dax, quick question.
Yep.
Who do you rate higher, Moranchuk or Mukhtar?
Wow. I would have said pretty even early in the season, but as we've seen how the season has gone, Hani Mukhtar has run away with that comparison right now. But I do see a lot of similarities. I think it's a good question because when Hani Mukhtar first came to MLS, if you remember, he didn't have a lot of success, Brad. In his first 12 months in MLS, Hani Mukhtar did not have a lot of success. I know there was COVID and all kinds of crazy stuff going on. And Alexei Moranchuk hasn't had a lot of success to start out, but they're both highly technical players. They're both very good vision. Alexei's not as dangerous in the final third, all right? Hani has been much better in terms of chance creation, in terms of goal scoring. Moranchuk is more of a pace setter. He's more of a tempo setter in the team. I still think Alexei has another level to get to. I actually think Alexei Moranchuk hasn't been the biggest, even close to the biggest issue for Atlanta United this year. So while there are a couple similarities, Hani Mukhtar runs away with that comparison right now in current form.
Who is it? Who asked that question? Mustafa.
Mustafa.
Moranchuk could not lace Hani Mukhtar's boots. I'm sorry. He's a decent player to watch. Hani Mukhtar, Moranchuk, very technical, nice on the ball, but can't lace Mukhtar's boots.
I like that.
Hey,
can't listen.
Finally, we get a strong take from Brad. It only took him 45
we always
minutes.
do this. Like I sit on the fence. This is what they do to me, Jill.
I know. It's not fair.
This is what they do to
it's
me.
really
Narratives
unfair.
all over the place. Let's go through some more questions. What you got for us, Jill?
Okay. Maybe this is a little wild, but also Dax, since I know you said expectations are to at least make the semis, of the Gold Cup, could Poch get sacked if we don't make the semis, or you think he'll be given more time?
No, he won't. We can't do this. We already did this with Greg Berhalter. We cannot waste any more time. Pochettino is our guy. Matt Crocker, for better or worse, Pochettino is our guy. We could lose in the group stage, all right? And Pochettino is going to be there for the World Cup unless he quits or unless he gets run out of town. I don't see that happening. Pochettino's our guy. We hired him. There is not enough time to go and find another great manager to lead this team into the World Cup right now. So we have to live with him for better or worse. Right now, when it comes to the U.S. men's national team, just show me something. Show me some life. I want to support you. I want to talk positively about you. Please give me something positive to talk about. I do. I'm begging you. I want to talk positively about the U.S. men's national team. Just give me something.
Help Dax out.
A lot of love in there for BJ Callahan right now, Dax, when you throw that out there. Here's one from Nerdy Soccer Guy. With the season at the halfway mark, who do you all think will be in MLS Cup?
That's such a
Brad, you
question.
go.
Yeah, but it's such a difficult question. You're just gonna get shot down. You know what I mean? It's tough. It's tough. I'm gonna go.
We're setting ourselves up to look.
Yeah,
dumb.
we're setting
go ahead.
It's so hard.
Yeah, I mean,
Brad, that's the job.
You know how difficult MLS is to predict. It's almost impossible. It's like predicting my wife. You know what I mean? How she's gonna be.
I will take no Mrs. Wright Phillips slander on this stream. Zero.
I will go with something random.
And you'll
LAFC Union.
That's not. How is that random?
It is, man. You didn't have them.
A team at the top of the supporters.
Yeah, but it's halfway through the season.
One of the consistently best teams in the West.
I'm going to go. You're going to go Vancouver, Miami. Go on.
Absolutely not. No.
Who are you going to go?
No chance. I'm not giving Miami a chance unless Messi goes otherworldly. I'm going what I went with in the beginning of the year.
Oh,
FC
So
Cincinnati.
you're saying you were right.
I'll change mine.
I'm going FC Cincinnati because while they haven't been great the last couple of weeks, I think Pat Noonan figures it out. I think Cincinnati has one of the best 1-2 punches in the league with Denke and Evander. I think their backline's going to figure things out. So Cincinnati, I think, will be there for sure. In the West, it's much more difficult to predict. I am going with the Seattle Sounders to figure it out, get healthy. FC Cincinnati, Seattle, and MLS Cup as of right now.
I'm
Could
going to
change my
go
mind.
with.
Ask me next week, I'll change. Go on, Jill.
Yeah, sure. So Vancouver for me is like the Philadelphia Union of the West. Like I think they're always going to get close, and this year they're getting closer, but I just see like some silliness happening early on in the playoffs where Vancouver gets knocked out. I see us going to San Diego, hosting.
Wow.
Yes.
Big
hosting
one. Big, bold.
Hosting MLS Cup against Miami.
Okay.
Wow.
Interesting.
Hey, to be fair, Dax, I'm thinking, Dax, you don't want to see.
I
San
want
Diego
to go
in the
to San
playoffs.
Diego.
You don't.
You don't want to see that team in the playoffs where a
That's
game
my
matters and you
point.
just got chasing the ball for 90 minutes. It's
They're
not
going to
going to
pass
be
you
an easy
off the
test.
park. No.
Yeah.
And with how good San Diego's been, don't put it past them to add another difference maker in attack with Chucky Lozano and Anders Dreyer.
Yeah. Wow.
It's a good shout, Jill.
Season, I don't hate it.
And selfishly, like, listen, I love every MLS market equally, but I would not be mad about being sent to San Diego in December. All right?
So you want them for selfish reasons. I can't say I disagree.
I'm incredibly selfish. Yes, I want to go. I want to go. Listen, I have braved a wind, half rain, half snow in Portland one year. Like I deserve San Diego.
You're ready for some sun.
Yeah, I'm putting that out there. Here's one. Recently read a report that Kevin De Bruyne may not be coming to Chicago or Miami. Last I heard, Kevin De Bruyne's wife was shopping for a house in Naples. So I don't know if he's coming to MLS, but should he, what team would you like to see KDB come to in MLS? If it's not Chicago or Miami.
Well, KDB is not coming to MLS anytime soon.
I'm not going to play that game. I'm sure he just signed with Napoli.
He's done. He's done.
Yeah,
he's signed, sealed.
That man's in Italy.
My man's chilling. He's drinking cappuccinos in Italy right now with Napoli, the defending Serie A champs at this point in time. I would have loved to see him in Chicago because I think it would have been great for the Fire, for that whole fan base, for that attack. I mean, Brad, imagine De Bruyne with that attack. Brad's second favorite player in the league. Zinchenko. Behind Conrad Wallum in St. Louis. Brad loves that attack, and I can't blame him. Brian Gutierrez is a good player. I think Kevin De Bruyne in front of him would have been great, but it's not going to happen anytime soon. Sorry to burst your bubble, whoever asked that question.
It would have been nice to also see him at LAFC. I just think with him threading passes through to Denny Bwanga sounds very dangerous, and they're missing a real creative piece in the midfield. Next to Igor Jesus, it would have been good to see, but yeah, he's in Italy, so sorry guys.
Before we say goodbye, give us your summer transfer window signing. Who's coming to MLS this summer? Just give me one player.
The dream signing?
Yes, the dream signing.
Dream signing. Jeez. Honestly, there's probably. I'm a realist, as people. If you haven't come to expect that out of me yet, I would love to see someone like an Ilkay Gundogan or someone that's a little bit older, but who's won big trophies, is still at a reasonable age and can be a difference maker. Gundogan can be, first of all, he's got a great demeanor. I think he's a great head on his shoulders. He's a great leader. I think he would be fantastic in a number of different clubs. He can play anywhere in midfield. I think he would be a dream DP signing for any team.
Same team. I'd say Bernardo Silva. I just love watching that guy. He still has a lot to give, real team player. And I think when you're getting DPs in MLS, you have to pick wisely. I always go back to David Villa. David Villa was a player that came here, at the end of his career, but he was still bought in. He still left it all out on the field. And I think Bernardo Silva would be similar to that. I think he would do really well in MLS.
Luke Jacob in the chat. I agree about Griezmann. Unfortunately, he just re-signed with Atletico Madrid, so that will not be happening in the next couple seasons either.
Oh, Dax, you're getting some love. The dream would be Dax coming out of retirement.
Oh, Mustafa.
He did for Des Moines Menace. He did already.
Mustafa, a.k.a. Mama McCarty. Thank you.
Mama McCarty. Love that.
That's good. All right, is there anything anybody needs to get off their chest before we say goodbye ahead of this full slate of soccer weekend we have ahead.
Yeah, something I've always wanted to say. Dax, I've never liked you, man. I don't like you as a person. You annoyed me as my captain.
Brad,
yeah,
I got something I got to get off my chest. I love you. You're one of my favorite people that I could ever work with. But what I will say is you're going to be making me coffees on MLS 360 this weekend. Tune in. We have a ton of fun every show. MLS Countdown, MLS 360. Our colleagues Sasha Kleshchin and Caitlin Kyle are off on vacation. Doesn't matter. Come join me, Brad, Gio Savarese, Kevin Egan. It's going to be a blast this weekend.
I can attest as someone who's worked alongside both of you. I love both of you. You are upstanding individuals, fantastic colleagues, and just good overall guys. So that does it for our show today. Thank you all so much for playing along. Remember, like our MLS YouTube channel, because then you can jump in this chat. Make sure you tune into This is MLS. We're coming at you twice a week live from 12 to 1 Eastern time. But that does it for our show today. Jillian Zakovitz, Dax McCarty, and Bradley Wright Phillips. We'll see you guys.
Guys.
Love that jersey in the background, Brad. Keep it up. Get it framed, by the way.
No, I'm going to keep it on that because I might need to change it.